Welcome to Subramani. The one of the nastiest and perhaps the worst problems in finance in your life is the retirement problem. I didn't say it. It was Nobel laureate William Sharpe who said this and said it long ago. Why is it so difficult? Because you have to take a lot of decisions based on a lot of things which you don't know anything about, and you have to take these decisions way ahead in life. So what are the questions that for which you don't have an answer? How long will you live? What returns will your assets give you? How much will you spend in retirement? What returns will each of the how much expenses will you incur during that during your illness or things like that, which won't be covered by insurance? None of these questions have a straightforward answer, right? And if you are wrong in one of them by 5-10%, or even you could be wrong by 30%, you can go dramatically wrong. For example, if you estimate that you live till 85, which is a fair enough assumption, and you end up living till 95, what percentage was it wrong by? By about 40%, because at 60 you thought you lived till the age of 85, so 25 years, but you lived till 35 years, so 40% of your estimate was wrong, right? Such a big mistake can completely ruin you, because 10 years you're not prepared for how to live, or you live your first 25 so frugally, worried about the last 10 that time you have a lot of money and no ability to spend, right? So all these things, so I'm not even talking of the social, political, biological worries, just the financial worries are so bad. Then there are other worries. So that is why it makes it the nastiest and most difficult problem to solve. So I'll be taking an American example because mathematically it was available to me. So I'm just saying two things. One is what are the most important things that you have to consider in retirement much before, when you're 22, 23. One, you do not know how much money you will need at retirement. Does not matter. What matters is how much you save and how do you allocate your assets, right? These are the two things which are very important, whether you're 22, 32, 42, 52, doesn't really matter. These are the two very, very important things. So people think that I should not take any risk while managing my money. So I will keep, so there are three extremes. You will find somebody keeping all their money in bonds or in debt instruments like RBI bonds, bank fixed deposits, national savings certificates, etc. And those who keep 100% in equity, right? I'm talking of two extreme cases. And I will have to take examples from the US because Indian examples are not available for such long periods of time. So assuming that a person started earning, let's say $50,000 on a particular date, and he worked for, say started working at 25, retired at 65, so 40 years of starting to earn $50,000, and then salary increasing by 10% every year or 5% every year. That seems to be too high in the US context, and then he saves money. How much money will he have at the age of 65 and how long it will last, depending on the asset allocation. So the most important decision in your life is how much you save, and that is again a fluctuating number, because initially when you start, and let's say you're staying with your parents, there is no pressure at all on you to pay for household expenses. Fairly obviously theoretically you should be able to save much more than somebody who is supporting his family or her family and things like that. So how much you save is very, very important at that stage, and what return you get on your assets is very important after your age of 40, because I'm assuming by the time from 25 to 40 you had accumulated some assets. At 25, honestly, it doesn't matter what return you get on your equity or on your debt, nothing matters, because your corpus is too small. Later on your corpus is big, so how much you are adding further to it will also matter, but what matters more is what is the return that you are getting. So you have to start looking at returns after you have a decent corpus, right? So let us look at some numbers which I could find on some US website. Let's start with some assumptions. The amount doesn't matter. And another assumption that your salary does not increase is again wrong, but it is necessary to know how much your money will grow to and how much it will last. So how much you earn does not really matter, how much you invest matters, and what rate of return you get matters on your portfolio. So just for an assumption, we are assuming that the person started working in 1926, retired in 1966. This was again important for the calculation. Started earning at $50,000 and ended up at $89,000 adjusted for inflation. That's all, no increment at all. So the question, then the person invested in various, let us assume he invested completely in bonds. He would have had, again some more assumptions. He retired at 65, died at 90, so 25 years in retirement. Spending was identical during retirement, during working time and retirement. Again, that could be wrong. So these are some of the assumptions which were made to do the calculation. And in 1926 he started earning, and he finished with in 2018 what would have happened, right? 1966 plus another 25 years of his life. So he would have finished in 2018. We would have had 28 different retirement simulations. I'm not getting into that. I'm just getting through one, right? So what would have happened is, with 50,000 and 89,000 is closing salary, he would have saved 240,000 in totally in his life. He would have saved. When I said saved, it means it was kept in bonds, and that had become 382,000 in a 100% bond portfolio. In a 60-40 stock, 60-40 equity and debt portfolio, for 40% in debt portfolio, he would have reached 1.6 million. In a 100% equity portfolio, he would have reached 3.7 million, right? These are the numbers at hand. Now the question is, what happens when he starts investing? In this first year, he would have spent $80,000, which is 90% of his of his expenses when he retired. So at 64, he must have been spending $100,000 or $90,000, and now he's going to spend $80,000. Now you can understand what I'm driving at. $382,000, and if he's spending $80,000 plus inflation, the bond portfolio would not last more than 5 years. 5 years is what it would last, which means at the age of 70, he would have run out of money. In a 60-40 bond portfolio, it would have lasted him about 20 years. Right, his 1.6 million would have lasted him about 20 years. So he would have had money till the age of 80. Remember, he died at the age of 90, so last 10 years he wouldn't have had money. But his $3.7 million equity portfolio would have lasted almost in perpetuity, because he would have been able to withdraw. There would have been dividends and all that. So this is the hard fact. So some of the simple learnings are, when you think you're not taking risk in your working and investing life, it means you're taking a huge risk in your retired life. You will not have enough corpus. You will just not have enough money to retire. Whatever you are, whatever age you are at, if you don't have money in equity, you won't have enough money to retire. Unless, of course, you're going to inherit a big amount. If you're going to inherit a very big amount, then it's different. But if you don't inherit a big amount, and if you are dependent on your income and your saving, and it is not in equity, you will not have money for your retirement. You will run out of your money. In Indian context, maybe in 7 years or 8 years, but yes, you will run out of money. The period for which we are analyzing data, there were long periods when bonds did better than equity, but overall equity dominated bonds is in that era. Even in the last, say, 40 years in India, it is bonds which were underperforming, equities which were outperforming. We do not even know how the next 40 years will pan out. That is risk number one, not knowing which asset class, how it will pan out. But going by past data, you have to believe that an equity portfolio will do better than a debt portfolio. The problem is with equity portfolio is the high standard deviation. So how comfortable were you handling those standard deviations during periods of time when you say 48 and there's a 30% fall in the market? You know it's going to take 3-4 years for the market to recover to your original portfolio size. Those are the times when ability to sit calm is going to be tested, right? The standard deviation in an equity portfolio can be very hurtful. and if you're not leveraged, you won't die doing it, but if you're leveraged, you could even get wiped out. Coming to think of it, two things matter. What is your savings rate? Because even if you can increase your savings rate from 10% to 13%, in our example we assume 10%, but if you can go from 10 to 13%, even your 60-40 bond, 60-40 equity bond allocation does not run out of money. Just a 3% increase, or a 30% increase from 10 to 13 is a 30% increase. It's not going to be easy, but that also matters. So how much you save can be very, very important in the initial stages. So, and there are some cases where a full bond portfolio will not help even if you were saving 20% of what you are earning, right? So even with a high saving rate, if the returns are not good, it is not going to be very useful. So yes, what you can do at 10%, if you have to be in 100% equity, but at 14-15%, if you are in 60-40, it will still work. But even at 20% of saving, which I don't know whether it is possible, for you to, you will run out of money on a full bond portfolio. Again, re-emphasizing the same thing, the need for equity. And you cannot say, I don't understand equity. That's great. If you can't understand equity, sit and learn. At least you admit that you can't understand. There are people who think they understand. They are much worse off. Let me reiterate what I started saying. Retirement is a nasty and difficult problem to solve. Finance is just one part of it. Then there is social, what will you do, what will be your purpose in life. You have to find answer to all this. This whole package is called a retirement package. And going forward, I think I'll do more stories with stories rather than with data, because lot of data which you need for doing such stories, Indian context data is not available, because data has to be available. It has to be cut and sliced and diced so that I could do a story like this. So thanks to American websites, this one is this is about of dollars and data, from where I got this story. Thank you.